Hello, this is David White from Sportsman's Emporium, and today I'm going to talk a little bit about popper fishing for panfish and bass. That's one thing I think that is overlooked for the overall sport of fly fishing. It tends to be that when you first start out fly fishing, somebody will take you to a farm pond and you'll throw some poppers and catch some bluegill, and then it's something that people don't do a whole lot of after that. Well, what happens with the trout fishing in our part of the country is in the summer it starts to get a little bit warm and it becomes more dangerous for the trout to catch and release them. And that right there is a perfect time of the year to grab some poppers and head out to your local farm pond. You might have a pond on your property, or even rivers like the Mon River and some of the smaller creeks in the area can hold bass and bluegill. Popper fishing in general is really cool because it's basically little floating flies. All of the action you get is on the surface of the water, and you can take these little floaters right here. This is a little frog colored popper, and cast these into some cattails or some lily pads, or if you're out on a river like the Mon River, I like to get out on the river in my boat and cast them towards shore. But the best thing is cast these towards any type of structure, standing timber in the water, dock posts, bridge piers, and like I say, on farm ponds, the lily pads and cattails. And cast these out there and just strip them back to you. You'll see them moving on the surface and creating little pop bubbles. Fish love these. You can catch fish all day, all summer long on these popper flies. And it's really fun because you can see the action unfold in front of you, because you actually get to see the fish hit. This size here, this is two different colors that are about the same size, and these are good for bass. These are really good bass flies. These are probably a size 1 or size 2 poppers. But this big of a popper might be a little bit too big for bluegill. So I would go one size down and get something that's a little bit more like a size 6. And these little poppers here will catch any kind of fish. They're really fun. Like I say, you can take them out all summer long. You don't need a special rod for it because they're so light-weighted, because they float, that it doesn't take having a special rod. Your same trout rod most of the time will throw these little poppers. In general though, although I might use my 5-weight, the same rod I would use for trout, I would go with a little bit heavier line for trout. And the reason I do that is sometimes if you're casting these, especially in the cattails, you'll get them hung up in a cattail, and sometimes you got to pull a little bit, and a lot of times they'll pull off. But the biggest reason I use a heavier leader and tippet is because you could catch some pretty sizable bass on these popper flies, and really some big ones, and you want to be prepared for that. Like I say, they're light-weighted, so it doesn't take a special rod to cast them. But in general, I like to use at least a 6-pound test or a 4X leader and 4X tippet to fight the fish on and to cast the flies, because like I say, if you get a pretty big bass on there, using the trout size tippet might break. And this is a very fun, low stress, high recreational aspect of fly fishing. And I think that the people who try this, who've never tried it before, tend to really fall in love with it and have a lot of fun, because like I say, in the midsummer when there's not much else going on, it becomes a little more dangerous for the trout to handle those fish. There are still tons of waters around our area that have bass and bluegill in them, and they will regularly come to the surface to hit these flies. And there's tons of different colors you can use. This one is called a pencil popper. And this is just a little white one. I've had some great luck with panfish, bluegill, and even crappie have hit these. But the other ones here are just regular frog style poppers, just with the sharp cylinder shaped head and with the cut on the front of it. And this one here is the same as the frog. It's just a little bit smaller for panfish. Any color works. I've used white, I've even used purple and black and caught fish. The key is just getting a handful of these flies, get out on the water this summer and throw some popper flies. It is super fun, and I don't think you'll regret it one bit.